Okay, so the first part of this, in case anybody has already used Concur, I was just going to go through some of the NetPed meeting specific items that are on our travel policy. And if you've already used Concur, you can leave the session after that if you'd like. At the end of this, I'll go through how to actually enter the expenses into Concur and what we expect out of you submitting those expenses. So you should all have received this information when you got your scholarship letters. It covers the items that AASHTO will and will not cover for the meeting. Hopefully you've gotten your flights by now since the meeting is in less than a week. If you have a desire to get reimbursed sooner than later for those flights, you can submit those as soon as you want in the system, and then you can submit the rest of your expenses later on. If you had a flight that was booked over $700, hopefully you reached out to one of us and got approval for that. If not, please get a hold of me as soon as the session is over and we can go through a couple of items. So I'm not going to go through every item on this list. I'm going to send this document out to you after the session as well, so you can review it again. A few items to point out though: car travel for anybody that is planning on driving. Anything less than 150 miles does not need approval. You can just submit the mileage into Concur, and I'll show you how to do that for reimbursement. Anything longer than 150 miles, we reimburse according to the average cost of the flight from your local airport to the Providence airport. So if you haven't already gotten that approval, again, please reach out to me as soon as the session is over so we can get everything squared away before the meeting starts on that end. If you don't get prior approval for any of those driving expenses beforehand for anything over 150 miles, we're not going to be able to reimburse you. So please reach out. When you're submitting mileage reimbursement, since you won't have a receipt, you will submit a map of your drive that shows the distance. And again, some of that is already built into Concur, so I'll show you how some of that works here in a minute. We do not reimburse for any hotels on the way to the meeting if you are driving, and we do not reimburse for any rental car fees. If you are driving and have to park at the hotel, we will reimburse for those. And then moving on to accommodations, again, hopefully you got your hotel stuff squared away. I think we reached out to anybody that hadn't finalized those hotel reservations in the past week or two. The hotel will ask for a credit card to charge for incidentals, but the hotel room taxes and all the fees will be billed directly to AASHTO, so you don't have to worry about getting a receipt for that. But if you do have any incidentals or charge any food or drinks or anything like that to the room, you'll want to save the receipt from that to put into Concur, and make sure you have an itemized receipt for that, as well as any other meals or incidentals that you incur. Make sure that it's itemized. The total cost a day per meal shouldn't exceed $49, and that's beyond anything that AASHTO is already providing meal-wise. And then at the bottom of the document, we have a list of that are not reimbursable. So again, please read through those if you haven't gotten a chance to already. And on the last page of the document, it has the process for submitting through Concur. I'll be your point of contact for any expense questions or approvals after the meeting is over. The expense reports have to be submitted to us by Tuesday, November 16th. So make sure you don't wait too long to submit those items to us. Okay. So now for actually using Concur, the address that you want to go to is concursolutions.com. If you haven't already been there to test out your login, you may have a login from another area of AASHTO or from your own state DOT, or if you submitted for reimbursement for another company that uses Concur. Unfortunately, Concur doesn't allow same logins to be used across different organizations. So if you're using one for your own DOT, that's not going to get you into not going to give you the ability to submit expenses through AASHTO. So I did reach out to everybody that had a conflict with their login, but if you do have any other issues getting logged in, when you do log in, you should see a welcome to Concur from AASHTO when you log in and not your own organization. And if you don't see that, please reach out and we can get you an alternate login credentials. So again, if you're using that for your state, then it might be a different email address than your state is using. You do have to enter your bank account information to get started. This is so you can get direct deposit reimbursement. So I think that is a requirement when you get into the system. Concur won't mail out checks. So when you get into the system, the first thing you'll do is create a report. And a few items there, we're gonna hopefully standardize it and make it a little easier for us on the NEPEP staff end. So if you wouldn't mind naming your reports that you put in as 2021 NEPEP annual meeting, the program code for all of your expenses will be 6450, which is NEPEP. And then in this window, you'll leave everything else blank. So let me show you what I mean here. So if you have multiple tabs, it depends on what your view looks like. You'll click on expense. You shouldn't have the options for travel or invoice. Those are used for other things within that Concur. So when you click on expense, you should be able to click new report here. When you first log in though, there's another option, another area you can click to create a new report, and that shows up right here. So you can there's sometimes more options than report, but I'll go ahead and start a new expense report. Just thinking about it. This would be the time for it to stop working, right? Try doing this one. Okay, so that started. So this is where you type your report name. Your report date is just whatever day you submit it. That's not of crucial importance. The program is going to be 6450, and if you start typing that, it'll pull into NEPEP. So you can see there's other programs. Make sure you're getting that NEPEP one. And the report name, date, and program is all that's needed for this window. And then click next at the bottom right of the window. Then once you get to that next window, this is where you'll actually add your expenses. And I'm going to go through the process of what you enter in for each of the expenses, and then I'll go back through the options for uploading receipts and things like that as well. So the three expense types that you'll use are 5451. There's two different categories under that, and 5453. So 5451 will be used for pretty much all of your expenses other than meals and incidental items. Then you also have to enter the date. This is a crucial thing to make sure it actually matches the date on the receipt. Sometimes the date on the receipt might be different from what you're expecting. So make sure it does match that. The purpose is just a short summary of the expense. It doesn't have to be very detailed. For flights, you could just put flights to the meeting. For incidentals, you could just put incidentals, or if you wanted to put details, you can. Vendor is going to be the facility that you purchase from. If it's a gas station or the airline, it's basically the name of the company. Payment type is always going to be cash. It defaults to this anyways. It basically means that you're not using an AASHTO company credit card. And the amount, again, make sure that matches everything on the receipt, including if you ate out at a restaurant and left a tip, make sure that tip is included and written onto the receipt as well. And those receipts do have to be itemized. And then you'll attach the receipt to that expense. So again, I'll go through creating one. So we're going to be working with the codes 5451 and 5453. So you can start typing those into here, or all expense types show up underneath. So 5453, if you have a meal, you click on that, and it'll give you your box to start entering your information in. So you'll choose the date or type it in. Again, the business purpose can just be a quick summary. So you can just put dinner, breakfast, incidental, the restaurant name, or wherever you are getting the receipt from. Again, payment type is going to default to cash, just leave that. The amount, the program will already be defaulted to 6450 net PEP since you entered that at the beginning of creating this report. And that is it. So then you don't have to really type anything in the comments if you don't want. If there's anything that you need us to know, please type something into there. And this is where you'll click attach receipt. And if you have anything uploaded, you can pull them into here already, or you can click browse and attach from your computer right there. So there are 3 ways to upload receipts. Concur does have a mobile application that you can use, which does make it very handy to snap the photos of your receipts right when you get them at the restaurant or wherever you acquire them. But that's up to you if you want to use that or not. Your login to that app will automatically sync any receipts that you load into that system into your account. So whenever you go to choose attach receipt, they'll automatically show up under available receipts. You can also upload images or PDF files under the expenses tab, or upload while you're creating the expense, which is what I showed you here. So you can always browse and upload in that manner. Or if you go back to the main expenses window, sometimes this is a little easier if you have a handful of receipts that are already scanned in. You can click the upload new receipts, or this whole area is a drag and drop, and you can drag in multiple receipts at a time. And let me see if I can get that to work. Show how it works. So if I were to drag in multiple files, it'll upload them all at once, just like that. And if you're not using any receipts or you want to remove them, each one of them has the ability to delete as well. So then after all your expenses are added, you click submit the report, and you'll get email notifications letting you know once your report is approved and is going through process. You should receive about 3 or 4 notifications of approval from me. Then it'll go through another internal AASHTO check, and then Concur does a system check on it as well. And then it eventually will let you know when payment is being sent to you for that reimbursement. So going back into this report, if I were completely done, after you add an expense, just show you what this looks like. And it will give you error messages along the way if you're not doing something correct. So make sure you save items. Okay, so that is saved, but it's giving me an error because I don't have a receipt attached. If I enter in 5451 for travel, again, the same thing. Check that transaction date whenever you create multiple items though, because it will default to the last transaction date you used. So you want to make sure that those are all correct before you submit. And then submitting the report is as easy as clicking that button. And if there are issues with your expense report, we'll get back to you. I'll send back your report with comments as to what we're needing adjusted. And that's it. So some of the common issues that I already pointed out are getting non-itemized or missing receipts. If you do forget to grab a receipt, we do have protocols for that in place. Please reach out to me if that is something that happens to you. The date not matching the receipt that it was submitted, the expense report being over the allowable amount for the meeting, expenses for driving that weren't prior approved, and flights over the allowable amount without being prior approved. And we've already gone through some of these specifics, but again, receipts are required for all expenses, except for the rare instance where you've lost a receipt, and we'll basically have to have you fill out an affidavit in that case. So that's all going through setting up and doing your expenses and everything like that. If you have any questions now, we can get to those. I see we do have one here already. So I'm actually I'll keep it recording. Okay, so Brandon's asking where he enters bank account information in Concur. So when you first log in, go back to this window. Now I forget with my view, it might give you an error message saying that it needs your bank account information, that you can click right on that. If not, you can click on your profile in the top part and there's profile settings. And this is where all of the settings, and there are a lot of them, for your account. And under expense settings, that's where your bank information is. I'm hesitant to click on that because I think it'll show mine. So that's where you'll enter it. If you have any questions when you go to do that, let me know. We do not have a tip percentage limit. I think we'll question it if you tip 50% on a large bill. But as long as you keep it reasonable, 20–25% max. Yeah, for receipts, if you tip and the itemized receipt's obviously not going to show your tip, you can just handwrite that at the bottom and add that to the total and make sure the total is written as well. And that's good enough. Yeah, John, for your driving expense reimbursement, you can submit that now since you already got approval for that amount. Same with flights. Everybody can submit those now if you'd like, and that process will go through. I'll say it usually takes about a week and a half for expenses to go through. If you're submitting them between now and the meeting, our staff's going to have a hard time getting to things. So it might take a little bit longer, but we'll try to get those approved. For driving approval, if you could send me the mileage, and then typically we like to see a screenshot of average cost of flights for which airport you'd fly out of. In the case of Harrisburg, I know that's going to be well over a normal amount because you wouldn't be flying out of Harrisburg. You'd have to drive to either Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. So send me an email and I'll send you something back after this session. Are meals allowed? That's a great question. I'll get back to you, Jim, on the meals allowed for driving to and from the meeting. Since we're not allowing hotels, I don't think so. No, I take that back. Actually, they are. I'm sorry, complete brain spasm there. During any of your travel, whether it's flying or driving, meals are expensable. Good question, Matt. Mileage to and from the airport is expensable. Let me actually show you something on Concur while I'm still sharing the screen here. Something that I kind of skipped over that I was going to send out something specific to those driving, but let me pull this up. In addition to those two expenses, the 5451 and the 5453, and I know this is kind of small text here, I can't really zoom in too much. I guess in addition to these two expenses, there's also a 5451. Actually, I don't think there is. Sorry, I take that back. Internally, we have something that does car mileage for us. For driving to and from the airport, you would just submit a screenshot of that map showing the distance, and then you would get reimbursed for the, we're going with 56 cents per mile. So just include a screenshot or map for you're driving to and from the airport, and you can include that as well. Same with taxis or shuttles or anything like that to and from the airport. Yeah, that's all reimbursable. You can include those. Parking at the airport is covered. Dan, that's quite a drive to the airport. Yes, that is reimbursable. All driving to the airport to fly to the meeting, that is all covered. If you need a new username and password, send me an email because I'm going to have our accounting department check to make sure that you don't have an account with that username. And if not, they'll be able to create an account and temporary password to send to you. John, I'll ask our accounting if maybe it's something that they only allow They only allow AASHTO employees to use the apps for some reason. I'm not sure. That might be the case, so I'll check into that for you. For transportation, once you land in Providence to the hotel and back, you should have received some information from Megan on shuttles. We do have shuttles. Some people don't have flight times that are landing around the same times as others. So she was sending out Uber, I believe they're Uber codes to those individuals, each individually on that basis. So if you haven't received any information from Megan on any shuttles or Ubers, then please reach out to me and I'll get you in contact with her and see if we can get you on a shuttle, depending on when your arrival and departure times are. We do not need receipts for tolls. Most tolls don't give receipts anymore. If you can get them, that's great, but you don't have to. Just put a comment in there that there's no receipt for the toll. And what we might have you do is just submit, I'll include that after this session. I'm going to send out the document for allowable expenses, the presentation I showed you, and I'll include what we call our receipt affidavit. It basically lists the amount that you spent. You can just total all your tolls up into one amount, and it basically you're just signing to say that you're not lying to us, really. So I'll send you that document as well. All right, any other questions while we're here? Okay, well, feel free to reach out after the session. Oh, Todd said the travel email was from Lyft. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. I know she's going back and forth between using Uber and Lyft because of availability. And just a heads up, if you were told to use an Uber or Lyft, your wait times might be a little bit longer. I've noticed travel that there's definitely less of those ride sharing options available out there right now. So just use a little patience with that. Baggage fees are covered. That's in the allowable expenses thing here for one checked bag. And if your airline does require a fee for carry-ons, we would cover that as well, but no more than one checked bag. Yes, if you did get that Lyft registration, then you don't have a shuttle. And let me verify that for you. If any of you do have questions, if it wasn't clear what Megan sent you, definitely reach out and I can check to make sure, because she sent us a list of who's on what shuttles. And I don't know if she's going to send that out again to everybody. All right. Well, again, you can reach out at any point after the session or even after the meeting if you have any questions before you submit your expenses. Look forward to seeing you all at the meeting. And yeah, I will verify that shuttle info for you, Brandon, and for Wilda. Okay. Yep, I got everybody in the chat that asked for verification on that. And if anybody else needs verification for shuttle or Lyft, let me know. All right. Thank you, everybody, and look forward to seeing you next week. Let me save this chat.